in this class, you're going to learn about this thing called delta, or little triangle, or change. Okay? All these things mean the same thing, and it's basically a way in which we indicate some sort of change in a state of something. What we mean by that is change in time, change in velocity. All we do is that delta V. So what this looks like, if we were to use an actual indication of what this final state minus initial state looks like, we would have our VF, which means final velocity, minus our initial velocity. We're going to use that a lot. It's always final minus initial. Displacement basically means change in distance, but what we're referring to is the initial position, right? So not distance necessarily, but your final distance, final distance minus your initial distance, right? When we refer to just distance as itself, it's just a little d. When we're referring to displacement, I wrote it with the big D. It doesn't really matter, honestly. All we're looking at is the final position minus the initial position. Technically, every single time we use in this class is a delta t, but we don't really care as much about understanding that. You'll just see it on your formula charts written. For instance, V average is delta D over delta T, meaning displacement over change in time. I'm just trying to get this across to you. A lot of you already just know time and you don't ever even think about the triangle. If that confuses you more to think about the triangle plus the T, don't worry about it. But for other things, it is a little bit more important to understand. We are literally looking for the final state minus the initial. Okay? The only times time really changes or will be something that's not subtracted by 0 is when they're saying between. So like between, what should we say, 10 and 15 seconds. If you were to plug this into that kind of final minus initial, it'd be 15 minus 10. And that's how we are getting our range, basically. That's another thing that you can think about. This is a range of time that we're looking at. Okay? That's all I have on delta. This is just an intro. I know it was a long intro, but it is just an intro.